Welcome to the Sacred Healing Podcast, where the old is new, the ancient is innovative, and the forgotten is remembered. We believe that sacred healing is your birthright. Join us on each episode as we uniquely, authentically, and mystically dive into the bold and vulnerable life of many magical humans. From breath, spirituality, shadow work, and all things in the esoteric realm of healing, we don't leave any stone unturned on this bold journey of growth as we start to explore the remembrance of what it means to be human. So take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and let's get sacred. Hey, you guys, welcome to the Sacred Healing Podcast. This week we are joined by Vanessa, who is coming all the way from the Sacred Valley of Peru, where she has been a facilitator during our past 2 years of our Peru retreats. She is half Peruvian, half Colombian, and she studied all over the world with different Indigenous communities. And she's been documenting and studying different traditions and different ancestral ways of being, and really studying her connection to the earth and these beautiful medicines that the earth has to offer us, whether that's coca or cacao or mambe or hape or sananga or different types of medicines that she's been cultivating this really deep harmony with, both within herself and for her own inner soul purpose and journey. She's also a really, really intelligent and beautiful sister of mine. She graduated as an art director. She's certified as a family constellations therapist, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. She's also a beautiful musician and a songwriter. She is an energy practitioner. She works a lot on sound healing and vocal training. She's a beautiful singer, and she also works in integration, so helping people process integration and emotions and doing this deep family constellations parts work, really. And so, we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Parts work, inner child work, working with the mother and healing the mother and healing these deep wounds inside of us, using family constellations as kind of the backdrop for what that could look like. And so I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. We also get into the beauty of the sacred trilogy of Peru, just a little bit, kind of sharing a little bit more about what that means. And so if you've been interested about the Peruvian lineage at all, Vanessa is a really beautiful guide into the deep study and wisdom of Peru, but also a ton of ancestral lineages that she's been studying and bringing into her own field as well, not only Native American, but the jungle medicines and all these different types of things. But today we'll mostly focus on family constellations, and it's a really, really deep practice, and it's a deep prayer too. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this beautiful conversation. So without further ado, enjoy this conversation with my beautiful, beautiful friend, Vanessa. Welcome, everyone, to the Sacred Healing Podcast. Today, I am joined by my beautiful friend, Vanessa, and we're going to talk about a lot of really beautiful, nourishing topics. Today, we're going to be covering, hopefully we'll get to it all, and if not, we'll do a part 2, but hopefully we'll be talking about different types of parts work, IFS parts work, inner child work, work that Vanessa's doing with family constellations and archetypes, and and all the goodness that kind of weaves its way into all of those different modalities and parts of our lives and lessons that we get to learn and things that bring us more into wholeness. But before we get into like all that goodness, I just want to welcome you to the show. Just welcome. So grateful to have you. Bing, 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 bing. And we're both in our beautiful pink outfits today, so we're feeling the vibration, the spring. So Vanessa, I'm curious, from your perspective, I'll say like a little bit of mine too, but just like kind of how we met, because we actually met in Peru, which is, such a special place, for me that I love to travel back to. And I went to school there, and now I get to take people there, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And then it was almost like this really synchronistic, like serendipitous meeting that we had. We met at pretty much at a sweat lodge ceremony. And like since then, we've co-facilitated multiple retreats and workshops and ceremonies and things together. And it's been really cool to kind of see how the past year has unfolded. I can't even believe it's just been a year, actually, because now we're starting to plan things for the future too. And you're going to be part of our upcoming Peru retreat here in 2026. So yeah, just it's been such a cool experience meeting you and also becoming a friend because we also like spend hours on Zoom talking about deep talks and relationships and our path and our dharmas and our progress and all the muck too because we're here for all of it and it's really like an authentic friendship where we talk about all the things. So anyway, I'm just curious kind of from your heart like how it was like when we met, like what it was for you and like yeah, all the things we've been doing together since. It feels really special.
First, before everything, hello, good day to all of you, wherever you are watching us and sharing with us. I feel very happy to be here for the trust, for the friendship that we've been having and weaving, as you said. And I think it's important nowadays with a lot of things that are going on in the world and inside of our own worlds too, to be able to have platforms and places, safe places to be able to express ourselves. And me, myself, I'm learning to express my words from a genuine place. And yeah, so I remember the moment that we met. It was very unexpected, really, because I remember that sometimes people when they come here to Sacred Valley, some people recommend us to do sweat lodge or yeah, usually it's just sweat lodge and it's not our usual work, but it's our life because we sweat every week and we've been sweating for many years and sitting with the elders, with the friends and learning and just trying to become a better person and praying, and one of these moments was one friend asked us, hey, there's going to be this group of people that we're not going to be able to go, and I want you guys to go and help us out with that. And I was like, okay, yeah, perfect. We love to sweat. We love to pray in the sweat. So it was beautiful. And I remember we arrived and the sweat was like totally different from the one that we usually sweat because it's like it was more like a clay temazcal, which is more from Mexico. And usually we use the wood one. So it's not the first time that happened to us, but we didn't know it was going to be like that also, and so it was kind of difficult to to make it hot in there at the
Yeah.
beginning and for moments because it's really big. So
Mhm.
it was a task. It was something really interesting happening there. But as soon as I saw you, I saw Danny and this other friend that I
Patty.
don't, huh?
Was it Patty?
It
Our
was a
friend Patrick?
guy.
Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
remember the three of you and the rest of the group also, Cedar and some other people in there. And I really enjoyed everyone's presence because I felt like sometimes we have a lot of things to do in our day by day, and it's difficult for us to kind of ground in certain moments, but everything unfolded in a really nice way. I remember you singing a song from Brazil, from the Indigenous communities, and I was like, "Oh, this girl has a really nice voice. I enjoy her music. She's like a songbird." And then I felt Danny's energy, and I just felt like I knew you both from before.
Mm.
And yeah, I remember that year I was having a lot of connections with different people, and I was sometimes not really given the time to value the relationships. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start working on not allowing the connections to freeze, like get cold, you know? So I remember we started keeping in touch. We started talking. I told you I was going to the United States. We made a retreat. It was really nice. The work that we've been doing together, the talks that we've been sharing, getting to know each other in our vulnerabilities, in our strengths, and showing me around Cape Cod. It was really nice. I enjoyed it a lot. Making music together. We did a little small intimate concert. And it was really nice. So for me, I think me as a person that I don't consider myself a perfect person, I really appreciate, I have a lot of gratitude with my relationships, and that is one of the things that I really appreciate. And I really appreciate you. I appreciate Danny, and I'm really excited for this travel that we're gonna have, this journey that we're gonna have here. And people get to know these beautiful lands. And yeah, so that was my experience of meeting you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. It was like so mutual, like the immediate connection. And then also like fostering that relationship. Like you said, you can sometimes go places and meet people and then, you get each other's numbers and then it falls away. But in this case, we kept really fanning the smoke and the flames of the relationship. And now we've been creating things together and it feels really cool to kind of now be coming back to Peru again and get to visit you and see your familia and like the ohana that you have. And also do the sweat in the other way, because we didn't even know we were gonna have that temescal either. We kind of got there, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty big. You can stand up in here." So it was definitely bigger than the sweats that I have done too, where they're, it's like crammed little into a tiny little ball in the darkness. So, but you know what? We like figured it out in the moment, and it was almost like, that's kind of like part of the bonding experience was like, okay, how are we going to figure this thing out, to facilitate this retreat and get these people like to experience that. So it was all part of the meeting and like seeing you in your element and yeah, speaking of beautiful voices, my goodness, you have such a gorgeous voice. And yeah, I would love for you to kind of tell the listeners kind of like, a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into all the topics that we talked about, some of the parts work, some of the inner child work, but just for you to kind of shout out, I know you're part of a musical group in Cusco, and there's like a lot of things that you do in your life. So I would love for you to give us just like a mini kind of who you are and what you're bringing to the world right now in this moment. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna collect everything and make it the smallest I can. So I have a journey within art direction. I graduated as art director. I worked within advertisement agencies for many years. And I was very successful in what I was doing, but I was not really spiritually feeling good. And then I started working with the medicines, different kinds of medicines, and it helped me to heal a lot of darkness that I'm still working on a lot of darkness myself, a lot of shadows. But I think that every time that time passes by, it gets healthier, that relationship of how you want to grow, And in that journey, I found myself in a place where I felt it was very familiar to me. The ceremonial ways, the traditional cultural ways of some indigenous communities that I started walking with. And here in Peru, they call it the Sumak Kausai. In the United States, they call it the beauty way, which is aligning yourself in the way through a lot of tests and things that are gonna make you see yourself from different perspectives to walk just one path, which is the path of the heart. So I felt really connected to that. And throughout the medicine, I found all of these beautiful indigenous elders, teachers, friends, family, and it opened up a lot my connection with music. I really love studying different music from different indigenous communities. I'm currently very connected to the Brazilian indigenous music. I am a musician. I found my voice through the medicine by healing a lot of things that were really not connecting me to my true self.
Mm.
And for me, it's not just singing really nice or really beautiful, but it's about the spirits that you evoke when you're singing, the intentions, the prayers, the purposes that you bring through this. And all this helped me to find this connection with the music and the energy that moves around the music, the frequencies, how much it is of goodness in your life, the music, how much healing it is for people, for everyone, for spirits. Music, it changes everything, even the structure outside changes. So I'm a musician, and another connection that I have is with the Native American indigenous tribes from the United States. I walk with some Lakotas, with the Dines, with the with the Paiutes, with the Yacamas. Yeah, and some of them are those lineages that I work with and tribes, and they've teach me a lot of beautiful things through the teepee ways, and how it is to support a family and all the beautiful teachings that it has. And I've been studying their songs too, what they mean, the words, what they mean. We are carriers of songs here with my friends. The elders and some families trust in us to teach us the songs, and we carry them in a good way for certain places, certain ceremonies. And it's a lot of responsibility too, keeping it the way that they're teaching us how it is. And also, I've been working a lot with the indigenous communities here in Peru, and we study their songs, their traditional ceremonies, their festivities, the way that they handle community-wise here. And through there, that was the source that connected me and my friends, that we're a really big group of maybe 25 people. We all are musicians, artists, a lot of talented people of diverse art expressions. And we study the music from here, from the South America area, and we play them every Tuesday. Today we have rehearsals. I'm excited. and yeah, we connect a lot with the coca leaves. It's our medicine. It's a beautiful medicine, really ancient medicine that connects all the communities and opens space for family expressions and your connection with the mountains of these lands that are really, really ancient, really old. So this is one side of my life, and the other side of my life was I started studying family constellations some years ago. I'm still studying because it's a never-ending learning. And I started this because I wanted to heal my relationship with my family, and I wanted to learn different methodologies that would really help, different tools of well-being. And I found myself in here, in this place, beautiful place of healing your lineage, of calling upon the spirits of your family, energies that are being pending to see, to solve traumas, blockages. It all goes towards the alignment and the well-being of our relationships, so that it's really beautiful for me. So I've been practicing this for some time now. And on the other hand, as I said before, I'm an artist. I love drawing. My house is full of my drawings. I draw all the time. It's something that it really evokes from my soul, and I really connect a lot. And I feel it's a very powerful tool of medicine. And I've been working a lot of putting together music and my art. And so one day you guys will see what's going to happen out of that. And yeah, so we work with indigenous communities from Brazil, from different countries, and we have a support network where there's some of my friends in the United States and some are here, and we create different GoFundMes, different fundraisers to help them in buying a boat, or when they have floodings, helping them to buy books, English books for school, for this children place where it's like a shelter in Lima that we support them, and we send them donations once a year. And here my friends, they work with children a lot, and I help out whenever I can. And so it's giving back to the world. So basically, it's my indigenous cultural traditional path with the medicines, with the traditions. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, and I work with indigenous communities. And one day, hopefully, I'll have an organization where we can really do more work and really help others. And for now, I think that is basically, and I'm sorry I took too long because I tend to get really inspired, but that is a little bit of my story. And yeah, I pass it on you.
Yeah, thank you, Catch. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that. And I love the long answers. You know, that's this long form podcast for a reason, because I want people to understand the depth and the authenticity and the like the heart-centered like magic that not only you're creating in the world, but that you've been weaving into your whole entire path. And it really is art. And to touch on like, you know, your voice and like opening your voice through the heart, but through the spirits, it's like very ancient when you sing. It's so beautiful, so ancient. And that was actually like one of the like I would say like my favorite part of you coming to visit Cape Cod was like us just sitting around in the living room, just like playing and singing together and like yeah, just like being rock stars or whatever we were, but singing like you know Brazilian music and South American music, and you even sang a beautiful Quechua song, and yeah, it was just so pretty to like learn from you and to like feel the frequency of the vibration of the healing work that you're doing, because as you're healing yourself through singing, you're healing everyone else around you too, you know, and I could really feel the vibration of the entirety of Cape Cod just like rise. And we had such a beautiful retreat too. But like for me, it was those mundane moments where we were just kind of chilling around the house that was like the best parts, you know, just hanging out and having those deep conversations. So yeah, but thank you for your study and your wisdom and like yeah, we can get into like the parts work stuff because I think that that's super important. It's one of the things I know you've been working on. And for those people that are listening that don't really know what IFS or internal family systems is or what parts work is, it's the idea that we are not like one singular personality or one singular thing. We're actually made up of all these different parts of ourselves that are developed over time throughout our lives to help us with our nervous system, to help us stay safe, to help us avoid pain, to help us navigate life experiences. And there's generally in this practice like three different types of protectors that might come online. So it's protectors, they keep us safe. It's the firefighters, they react quickly to the overwhelm or the numbing or the distraction. And then there's the exiles that hold our old wounds and our emotions and our unmet needs. And at the core of this is ourself. You know, it's like exactly what you were talking about, like kind of finding that path, but coming back to the self and coming back to the heart center. And the self is like the wise one, the calm one, the compassionate leader within all of us. And true healing can start to happen when we, instead of fighting away all these different parts of ourselves, we start to listen to them and understand them and integrate them and alchemize them and build a relationship with them and even name them. Um, and I know you've been doing a lot of work with the inner child. So I would love to kind of hear what the experiences that you've had with your inner child work and what you've been focusing on with that, you know, beautiful younger version of yourself. And there's, you know, I talk about this a lot, even in my breathwork ceremonies, we do work with the inner child. And it's like, we talk about the 5-year-old self, the 7-year-old self, like being the person, the only person you need to impress in your life. Because that's the little kid inside of all of us that holds all this nervous system activation. It holds a lot of emotion, and wounds, you know, and unmet needs and love and safety and validation and all of these things. So I'm curious from your perspective, kind of what that inner child work has done for you in your life and what you've been focusing on, what that journey has been.
Okay, so um, related to the inner child, it's a very important work that I feel through the therapies that I've been working throughout the time. I've noticed that many of us have different experiences since the moment that we were born. And this cord of life, it's like the oxygen. It's like the cord that gives us oxygen when we can't breathe. It's our relationship, our strength. It's the place that we go back whenever things are getting a little tough, or when things are getting us through a test. Usually we go through this cord of life, which is it's really important, the moment that we were born, how we were born. And I've been learning this a lot with my midwife friends and the work that they do, and they express to me, and I've seen how the way that they treat the baby when it's when they're just arriving here. Even the cord, they don't cut it right away so fast, and that's so beautiful to see, because usually in the in the Western medicine, it's different. It's another experience, and many of us have gone through traumatic experiences, or through experiences that are not so natural, or that force us to speed up getting or arriving to this world. So it's not like really natural, the way of some of us arriving to this world. So it's very important, what I've learned also with my midwife friends, to make a closure for the mother, because it's very traumatic for the mother too, and it creates a tricky relationship with the child on the long run. For some of us, subconsciously, it's not always like we're not so present sometimes with certain things or patterns or habits. And it also is very important how we treat the baby as soon as it or her is noticing, oh, I'm here out of somewhere I've been for so long. How you wash them, how you take them out of sometimes of the water, so that the time that they've been in the inner water of the mother and going outside to the world without being in the water. As we know, we are all humans and water people. We are all water beings. And I've seen how from the placenta, taking them out to the world, sometimes they even keep the baby for some time inside the water. And they massage the baby, and they take care of the baby really well, so that he can really ground himself or herself to arrive to the world in that way. So those are really detailed gestures that can change a lot. And sometimes we think they're not important, but it's all in the details, really, what I've been learning. Not getting stuck on the details, it's different, but the details are very important too, and we have to also appreciate those. And what this all takes me is to I've seen in myself for many years, my inner child. I used to see her locked inside a room, inside a room, inside a room, and it would get, as I would open the door to find her, it would get the room even tinier. So
that Russian doll. Oh my God.
yeah, it was something like that. And it was really weird where she was, the room that she built. It was like her safe room throughout all these layers. And it was difficult for me to find her. But when I found her, I just exploded. I was wow, I was surprised and even in shock of how long I've allowed my inner child to be forgotten. And I noticed, and I saw this girl, and I said to her, And I'm sorry. I love you so much. I'm so sorry that I really didn't take care of you in a good way, and I didn't really see you there for so long. And she was very sad because I had a really rough childhood and really violent in many ways. So it was really hard for me to see her there because I felt like she stayed locked in this uh, wound, you know, and she was not able to free herself so she can move on, you know. Um, and so I was able to I remember I was anxious in that moment, and I was like, where's the key? Where's the key? Like, I want to open this um um how do you say? It's like a jail, like a cage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And something inside of me told me, you know where is the key. Like, you know where it is, you know. And I grabbed the key from somewhere and I opened and I freed her, and she came out. And she didn't know how to walk around the room. Like, she was like learning to walk because she had been in a cage where she couldn't really move. So she was not able to develop her walking abilities, you know. So I was like grabbing her little hand, and I was like, how do I want to move forward from here? Because every step is really important, how I take her through those steps, with what intention. I really want to honor her in a good way so she can really feel the love in every step, you know? So I was praying a lot and visualizing what I wanted for that little girl, and just looking at her and smiling and trying to make her laugh, you know, because she was so serious, so sad. And we were able to walk to the another room. And when we got to another room, I woke up from that vision that I was having. And I just remembered the little girl. Every time I remember the little girl, I saw her on a swing in a garden. And I was like, oh, she's free now. So I felt like, oof, I felt good because I didn't want to leave her there, because I didn't make sure she got out of there. But I guess she figured out a way to get out herself. So it was really nice to feel that. And I feel that this is something that I've done in family constellations myself too, with some patients and friends, that there's a moment where I tell them, grab the hand of what you are taking responsibility of, and how are you going to walk to your new life with this responsibility, you know, with this commitment. And yeah, it resonated a lot with the vision that I had with my inner child. And I remember that I called this layer and this stage of my life the invisible child, because for so long I felt invisible when I was really young, not seen, not heard, because I was hurt. And I was a prisoner of my own traumas. So I was like navigating to free myself from that and be able to feel the blessings that life was showing me, that they were there, you know, all the time.
I feel like too, sometimes we're in a almost like a loop of victim consciousness with the inner child that we don't even know is there, until it's like revealed. Because when we start to acknowledge those parts of ourselves and offer them the safety and the validation and the love, like you were almost becoming the parent that was needed, but wasn't had at that moment in time for whatever reason. And then walking that younger self to a safe place, maybe it's on the swing in the garden or wherever it is for that younger self. Um, and it's so interesting how the family constellations kind of weaves into this practice of IFS or parts work, inner child work, because family constellations, and I would love to hear from your perspective too, but from what I know, it's based on the idea that we are so deeply and intrinsically connected epigenetically to our family system. And it's emotional and it's energetic and it's spiritual, and some of it is unconscious. And so we'll carry all these patterns and traumas and roles even throughout our lives that maybe didn't even originate in our lives too. And so it's kind of like it goes deeper than even just your own inner child wounding. And so I'm curious, like, if you were meeting somebody for the first time and they didn't know what family constellations was, how would you describe that work and what you do with it, like how you weave it into your own practice?
So what I've been feeling since I met this ceremony, because for me it's a ceremony. For me, it's not just like going to a place with this Western mind thinking, like this Western thinking of that we go to an empty space and it's just you and the other person, and we don't get to see the invisible threads and the invisible weavings that are really so sacred and so beautiful if we really take care of them and we honor them in that way. And all our lives, everywhere, we're always connected like that. So when I met the family constellations, what I noticed, the first thing I noticed was that at the beginning it was kind of hard for me to connect to the space. I like to call it the altar, because it's like an altar, the space that you open up through family constellations. And the spirits come, they manifest, they appear in there. But for me at the beginning it was a little hard to connect, because I felt like I was shy, because I had to work with other people and it was my first times doing therapies and stuff like that. And I felt too focused in the outside and not to mess it up or to appear perfect or something like that. And I didn't really notice that I was disconnecting myself from my spirituality. And one of the first things I noticed was how to let go of control, because family constellations, there's an altar that is called the morphogeneric field, which is like you open up a space and all the people were together in the same place. We're holding hands, and then we ask permission to this space, to the spirits around us and our guides and our angels, to allow us to open this space in a good way, to receive the support from them, their guidance, and that everything that has to manifest, that it needs to be taken care of, manifests in a good way, and that we can show up in a good way. And we always mention that we stop being ourselves and we become vessels of the spirit, for the spirit to move us like chess pieces around, however has to move for us to observe what's going on in the board, And what I noticed through this is, first thing is letting go of control, letting go of your mind. It's very important to everything, all the structures that we know. Try to turn them off for a little bit and just really connecting to the deepness of our mind, of our body, of our heart, of our spirit, and allowing the outside not to really bother you so much, and just not being worried if people are going to judge you or people are going to observe you or if you're not going to do it right or whatever. It's just being very focused in your breath, being very focused in this deep connection of letting go of your mind and just allowing yourself to open up in these mysterious ways, And yeah, so the thing I've noticed here is there's many things happening that in the board that you observe as a constellator. Usually you don't participate in the constellation because you're the one who's analyzing the situation, you're the one who's asking questions, you're the one who's sometimes guiding the participants so that the blockages or the messages or the entanglements or the or the hidden message that has to be seen can open up in a better way. So usually you have either 5 or 6 or sometimes more energies that it gets channelized in the space. There's 2 ways usually that I've learned. The first way is either you from the start reveal which are these energies. For example, energy 1 is my father. Energy 2 is anxiety. Energy 3 is my grandmother. So and so on until you complete the energies that are needed to be presented in the situation. Or the other methodology that I really enjoy it's not revealing which energies are which, and allow it in a certain space and moment throughout the therapy, the energies to start revealing themselves. You know, and usually the constellator is the one who reveals which energy is which, because sometimes when you reveal it beforehand, it gets your mind on the way, because it's like, oh, I'm the father, so I'm gonna act like a father or stuff like that, you know. So when you don't reveal it, it's more naturally connected to the energy, and you don't involve so much your mind. And so what happens here is that there's a lot of things happening that sometimes the first energy, for example, lays down on the floor. The second energy sits down in the corner of the room facing the wall. The third energy is facing the sky, and so on. The direction they're looking at, if they're looking up or they're looking down or they're looking to the left or they're looking to the right, it all represents something. The male, the female side of in both directions, they represent something. Looking at the future, looking at the past, so everything has a meaning. All the subtleness has a meaning and a why, and it's really important to take the time to observe the details. And throughout the therapy, you can start interpreting what you see, and maybe you ask questions to the energy. What energy number 1? What are you feeling towards the energy number 2? Energy number 4, what are you feeling towards the energy number 1? And so on. You start unraveling a story. Sometimes you find dead members of your lineage that are around you, and they're ghosts. They're called like dead bodies, like ghosts that we need to release because we are holding them on us. And also they are trying to tell us something sometimes. Then they just stay there until you see them and recognize them and honor them and release them. So all these things create blockages sometimes in our lives, in our work life, in our relationship life. We start repeating patterns because our grandmother or our great grandmother just was needing for a member of the family to recognize their wound, or to say to them I love you, you know, so that they can go to the spirit world, to their home, back home, and be in peace. And that way you're not repeating certain patterns because you're telling a story that has not been solved in these ways. But there's also a respect that we have in the family constellations that I repeated sometimes, is that it's good to investigate your family tree, but there's secrets within your family tree that must not be touched too deep, because the family members, they already passed this life, and they are our elders. They are our ancestors, so we need to respect their secrets too. We don't have to solve everything because we have our lives to solve, so that's a lot, you know? So basically, it's an altar where energies start to manifest. And it's interesting because what they say to you as a constellator is, it's good that you have empathy, but don't take the situation that it's showing up personal. Because that way you can see beyond your own wounds, and that even makes you more empathetic because it's more than yourself. So it's not being selfish of, oh, my own wounds or this. No, it's being at service in that moment, you know. So you need to rest a little bit your own self. That's why it's important that we recognize when we're in a family constellation therapy that it's not just ourselves.
Right.
So I'm gonna leave that in there so I can give space for you to speak.
Okay, so many questions, but let me consolidate. And I love that you talked about, even going back into the ancestry and the lineage, but also respecting the elders and respecting their secrets. Because it's like if we had to carry pain from thousands and thousands of lifetimes, it's like that's so much to carry. We also have to walk our own path. And so almost takes a little bit of the pressure off of everyone to like have to try and solve everything, and try to connect all the dots. It's like that might not be something that we're going to do in this lifetime. So we're going to work on the things that are coming up and the duality of those different archetypes. Because I do think it's like different archetypes that we're looking at. It's like the archetype of the mother energy or the grandmother energy, and how they kind of weave into our lives. So I think that that's so interesting. And also I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off of people trying to figure out, oh my gosh, well, what energy is this? And do I have to solve this? And do I have to, it's almost like you could go down so many different rabbit holes with that. So, because there's things that you're meant to carry in your lineage, and then there's also things that aren't yours to carry too. So I think that that's important to mention that. So thank you for explaining that so thoroughly. And like, I know every session is different because it is an altar and you're opening up the sacred space. So it's like, I'm sure everything is quite different. What really, I guess what I'm more curious about is like what really called you to this work? What called you to wanting to be in facilitation of these sessions, and maybe some of your own profound shifts that have happened through going into this type of work, not only with archetypes, but also with family constellations and inner child work and all the things that you've experienced. Like, how has that helped you grow and expand, and what called you to that?
So thank you for what you said. And yeah, I think that what really initiated me in this, I'm a very curious person. Yeah, and that's something that I'm learning, not to be so curious because it can backfire on you. And going back to not being too curious with your family ancestors' secrets, So yeah, I'm learning to not be so curious. One of the things that lead me to this was actually many, many years ago, many years ago, before I even considered opening up family constellations and all this work. It was I was since I was really young as adolescent, I had a really rough adolescence too in my family. And I remember, and I don't blame my parents because I know that it's very Western way of thinking, They put me a lot for many years in therapies, like with psychologists and psychiatrists, and I would be medicated for many years and of different things that I even got addicted to some, and it was really bad. And then when I started out of curiosity to notice my before and after with the chemicals, I noticed I was losing myself. Like there was something that made me that was not there or was sleeping or numb or something like that. So I felt good, normal. But it was not myself, that twisted, that crazy, that wicked part of myself was not there. Um, and I also became a drug addict, and I would drink a lot of alcohol. I would mix the medications with alcohol. It was really dangerous, And I got myself really sick in my stomach. My body was feeling bad because of the chemicals that were too strong. My head would hurt. Yeah, it was really crazy. And then out of my rebellious side that was kind of trying to creep out of that cage that I put in with these chemicals, it was like a moment where this voice came out and it was like, "What are you doing? Do you think I'm not here? Like, I'm gonna get out of here soon." I felt like something like that. And I was like confused, like, well, oh, what should I do, to help out with this? And I said, okay, I'm gonna stop drinking these medications. I can't do it anymore. But I didn't do it in the right way. And so I went from, for example, 500 milligrams, or I don't know, I remember so well the measurement, to nothing. Like I didn't, I remember I had the pill, and what I should have done is cut it in four parts, and then start drinking three out of four, and then two out of four, and then one out of four, and so on throughout a month. But I didn't really do that because I was like really out of my mind. And when I would do that, I would come from this place where I felt there was my plastic self, and then my wounds were like, "You thought that you healed this? Well, let me tell you, no, we're here and we're waiting for you." And it was like a really strong contrast from being numb to feeling all of that in like somebody throwing you a bucket of water on top of you. And so I drank more. I got into more drugs, and it was really bad. And I even stole a lot of things from my parents to pay my drugs and stuff like that, which is really personal to share, but I'm not ashamed of who I was. And so I started to search for different holistic therapies. And I felt this call that I wanted to understand what to do with my mom and my relationship with her to improve it and to make it better. And one day I don't know how I ended up in an office with a lady that was a family constellator. And she had her little dummies that I have them here too in my bag. It's like wood dummies that you use to do consultations online. And sometimes when you don't have other people to do the dynamics of group dynamics with people, you have to use other methodologies, other ways of being able to give sessions. So she gave me this session, and she was like asking me a lot of questions about my mom. And then she showed me that behind my mom, at the side of my mom, it was my sister. At the side of my mom, it was my aunt. Then it was my grandmother, then my great grandmother, and so on, all my family, feminine lineage. And I remember I was looking at these little dummies that didn't even have eyes or nothing, and they were just kind of really boring dummies. And I just connected and put all my faith in them, and I would just started crying because I saw the pattern of violence and abuse in my feminine lineage, which there has been a lot in there for generations. And she told me, you need to start from little. She told me, you can't expect to go all the way 7 generations back. You need to start from little. So you need to start from your sister, your aunt, your mom, and then you move on if you want to discover, educate yourself about your family, you know, to understand habits, patterns, things that are repeating in your life, so you notice that you're not crazy, you know. And I remember that's when everything started for me. I was I think I was 19 years old, and then I think 2 years after, I discovered the medicine. And then through the medicine, I remember my prayers for many years where my family lineage. I was praying a lot for my family lineage, and I was praying for our women in our lineage to be free from our wounds, from our past. Even then, I started praying. The next years, I started praying for the perpetrators, for the wounded men in my life and in my lineage and in my generational traumas and the tree of life. And I noticed that there was a lot of hurt towards men in my family. And I even noticed that I had my own wounds with my father because of his absence in some ways in the relationship. And I remember that I noticed how I had these issues, and I've been having these issues sometimes of noticing how really good of a friend I am, of a relationship I am, of a relative. Because I remember my dad, for many, many years, he would fill the void of his absence with money. I remember he would give me gifts. He would give me everything that I like in a material sense of things I needed. And he filled that void. And that was his from what he knew, you know, what he received also, I guess, in his childhood of what love is, you know. And throughout my relationships, I've been healing my relationship with abundance, because I always noticed after I finished my work with advertisement, I ended up in this place where I said I felt all the opposite to abundant. And I was like, how did I went to this place, from this place to this place so fast? And then I noticed that my relationship with my dad was a lot based in this. We didn't really have another kind of relationship. We had it for moments, but it was mostly that. And I started to notice that when I was really young, I was like, oh, I can buy my friends, or because I give everything to my friends, like I pay them their drinks, I pay them this, I pay them blah, blah, blah. So I paid everything. And then I started noticing that when I went from this place to this place, I didn't really have a good connection with my abundance, because I didn't know what that really meant, you know, because this way of relating with my father made it not healthy for me to create my own abundance when I left my work in the system, you know. What I really want, you know, what do I really want? how is my relationship with money, with abundance? And abundance, it's like everywhere, like in all your life, it's not just related to money. So this also was another chapter of Family Constellations that I opened up, because I noticed that there was been a lot of things, shady things in the male lineage of my side of my dad, that was kind of corrupt, and it was this easy way of ambition, and things like that. And what I got out of all of this was me nowadays finding myself, after what happened to my family, that they for some reason lost everything, like their financial economy stability, they lost everything. And what this got to me, and also what happened to my brother, that he was facing death, it got us close as a family. And all this violence, this subconscious, this unconscious way of relating, these ambitions, this way of buying your relationships or your abundance, what does really mean abundance in your life? I came to live here and I started noticing that there's other side of abundance that I'm learning, which I remember when I was in certain groups, people would say, when they saw people with their houses like not so full of stuff, they would say, "Oh, poor people, like poor of them," And I'm like, And then when I started living here, I really started to see the poor people that the society sees as, they have everything. They really know what abundance is. And that's what I've been finding with my family, that they had to lose all of those things to be able to really connect to the real abundance, So the relationship that it gave to us as a family, for me, that doesn't have a price. That's beautiful, So I'm still learning my relationship with abundance, because it doesn't just mean abundance economically, but it's the way that we treat each other, the integrity of how we treat each other. And again, I'm going to close this by saying I really enjoy recognizing my mistakes and the things that I am learning to do better for me and for all my relationships. And I have no problem of assuming my mistakes and growing from them. And so, to responding to your answer, all these inner child wounds and adolescence wounds and the way that I was raised, not because my parents were bad, but because they had the same in their childhood and they didn't have the tools to cut certain patterns for them to give to their children another path, But nowadays, I really believe in miracles, and I've seen the change in my parents. And I believe that all these tools, all these therapies are really, really helpful beyond the Western medicine, because sometimes the Western medicine has this aspect of putting people in a mold. Look, like all of you guys are the same, so all of you guys are gonna receive the same, and you're gonna be good, numbing. But I approached to Family Constellations because I didn't want to be numbed, and I wanted to accept my weirdness and my craziness and all this side of me that makes me me. And so I highly recommend the therapies and the tools that we find that are good for us. Go ahead and follow your heart to fight for yourself,
I'm so glad you did. So glad you did. I love that you're wild and weird and wacky. I love all that. Like, it's how we connect. Um, and to talk about like the lineage stuff, it's like, yeah, we all do the best we can with the awareness that we have and with the tools that we have. And so, you know, even that like relationship with the lineage of your parents even or your siblings, it's so important to kind of revisit that and look at that in a new way. in a third way, in a different way, so that you can start to integrate and alchemize some of that work because it is deep work and it can bring up all this stuff, and so I know we'll probably talk more about this in like a round two, but it's so important that you mentioned that too because um and we even talked about this yesterday when we were chatting, like just personal chatting, but like even in Peru and in South America, it's so different than growing up in the Western world. And like some of the things that are considered normal in South America are not considered normal here in America with like growing up and how you're treated, how you treat your kids or your pa families or your elders, things like that. It's all kind of different, you know. Um, and we chatted about that like a little bit just as friends. And I feel like that was important for me to hear too, because it's like, oh yeah, just another reminder that there's 8 billion people on this planet and they're all living 8 billion different realities simultaneously. And like every culture has its own lineage and its own practices and its own way of being and its own socioeconomic and political lenses. But if we like strip all of that away, like you said, when you walk into that house and like there's not a lot of stuff in there and everyone has everything that they need, like that is abundance. And when we put the prayers into the earth, like if we put a cedar prayer into the earth for somebody in our family, it's going to touch them. It's going to touch them at that moment. And so, yeah, just thank you for all the explanation and also like sharing your personal experience and all the things that you shared about your personal stuff too, because that's why we're here on this planet. We're not here to keep putting on the masks. We're here to take them off, and I appreciate that you keep doing that work. I'm on that same journey too of just like ripping it off and coming more into authenticity. Yeah, I know it's been hard. It's hard. It's not the easy way. It's like you said, it's the beauty way, but it's not the easy way. And um, so thank you for sharing your heart and the path and why this work like and how you got there and your the addictions and the attachments that actually got you to this beautiful place because there's always the duality in that and like if you didn't have that part of your life you never would have found this and so how beautiful, like what a blessing. um yeah, there's so much more we could say. um let's see what I would love to touch on with you just kind of before we jump off is somebody who's hearing all this and they want to try and alchemize or integrate some of this stuff into their life, where would you suggest that they begin? Like what would that look like? Or maybe even if people wanted to reach out to you for a private session or a virtual session, things like that, like where would they start? Where could they start to find people that are doing this work outside of, more of that formal therapeutic IFS parts work, which is also really magical and beautiful. Highly recommend that as well. But even going deeper into these archetypes with the family constellations, how would people like be able to access that?
Let me see if I understand right. Or
How can
maybe
people work with you?
question again. How do I?
How can people work with you? How can people find you? Like, do you can do virtual as well? If people are listening and they want to, work with you on their lineage, like, how would they get in touch and like, how would they start that process to integrate and start to alchemize some of this work into their life?
Okay, so usually what personally I enjoy more, it's having in-person sessions. For me, it's like way different, but I know a lot of people are not able to be in the same place as I am sometimes, and they're minding their own business, their own lives. So what I've been doing these years is doing sessions online. So what I do is I have an Instagram account where there's a link below my description where you can sign up for an appointment if you want an appointment, or either you can just write to me on the DM and we can just move forward from there and arrange appointments available. I can send all the information needed if they want to know pricings and all those things. And yeah, basically, if you want, you can, well, this is gonna appear in my page too, so people can just press on the little button that says my name, La Mujer Maíz. And there you can find, sometimes I put some videos, I put some pictures. I'm learning to put more every day. I promise this year is gonna be different. But yeah, you can find me there. You can write to me, send me a message, and I would be really, really happy to help you out within my tools, my possibilities, and move from there.
Yeah, and also we have some stuff coming up too. We're planning a retreat, so if anyone's local here, Vani is coming to visit again. It will be our second annual retreat, working with you and your magic, and some people, last year that came to our Echoes of the Apus retreat, worked with Family Constellations, just like the tip of the iceberg. So I'm excited to go a little bit deeper this year. So if anyone wants to come to that, just stay tuned for dates on that. Should be coming out late summer, fall-ish, 2026. We'll see what date we'll see what happens, what the world brings us. So yeah, beautiful chance to have like an in-person session there. Amazing. There's so much more. I have a few things that are kind of like a little bit more related to the work that we're going to do in Peru. I'm curious if since we are coming back on retreat and we're working with like a lot of different energies when we go to Peru, just kind of shifting gears. I would love to hear from you because we are working, and you actually were the one who like really kind of like gave me this beautiful I guess suggestion is the best way to put it, to like really weave in more of the Andean stories and the practices and the sacred ancient like narratives and storytelling into the retreat. And we talked a lot offline about the sacred trilogy and kind of what that means to weave that into the experience so that when we're taking people to the land, they know what energies are they're working with, right? Like because it's subconscious. It's almost like the unseen energies are there. And when we go to all these beautiful sacred places, when we're taking people to Sacsayhuaman and we're taking people to Machu Picchu, it's like those energies are already embedded into the places and the land and the apus and the spirits, and like everything is already there. And so giving them more of a grounded way to understand what they're experiencing and what they're feeling. And so this like year we've been getting everyone on Zoom calls leading up to the retreat. We've had almost like 10 now, where we're really trying to ground everyone into these different lessons, not only about what the Chicana means, what the worlds are, the three different worlds in Peru, and also the sacred trilogy, and what lessons that brings into everyone's experience that they could have in this beautiful, beautiful land. And so everything's really been I guess themed around that, but also it's like it's not just a theme, it's like a deep walking that we're going on as a group. And so I'm curious if you have anything to share on that, anything that's coming to your mind that you'd like to share just with the listeners or anyone that's coming to Peru, kind of how to really land in that energy when everyone arrives there.
Mm. Mm. So yeah, this the cosmovision of the Andes here, it's as of many other indigenous traditions, is very deep, very vast, and sometimes I feel that for a short answer, I stay short because it deserves a lot more. But what I really been learning about the cosmovision that they have here, about the Chacana, the trilogy, the sacred animals, they say a lot that the Chacana is not a plain symbol, but it has a lot of deepness. It means it goes way up, it goes way to the left, it goes way to the right, and it's really wide. It's really open, really vast. So it has a lot of dimensions, more than 4D dimension, 5D dimension. It's really deep, really, it changes its shape all the time. And it's a portal, it's a bridge between the spiritual realm and these lands that we live in. And what they say a lot, and they've been teaching us a lot, is that all these worlds, they represent the different dimensions that us also have, which is our higher selves, you know, this realm that we are at, down below. And there's one also that it comes from this deepness of our hearts, you know. So usually it's another one that sometimes people don't speak so much about it, but they all mean a lot, that there's no difference in timelines. As up below, as up, down below, the same. It's a mirror, you know. So the past, the present, the future, we're all in the same timeline. That's why sometimes we find ourselves thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and we're here. So it's like a doors that are always there, and just us crossing this line gets us there. Like it's like right around the block. It's like not so far. And so it says a lot of aligning our minds, our hearts, and our spirit, you know. It's a lot what these teachings take you through, different methodologies, different tools, that it all takes us to the summa causae, which is it's like walking in beauty. It's like like the walk of beauty, you know. It's like walking towards the well-being, towards our highest selves, to remembering who we are, why we're here. And it all leads us to the purpose that it's lying inside of our hearts, which in the Japanese cosmovisions, they say that our heart is an emperor. It's the one who's directing all the orchestra, you know. So we're learning to decolonize ourselves, decolonize our thoughts, for us to be able to go to the source, you know, because they have taught us that it's here, you know, but it's actually more warmer here, you know. So it all this the snake, the puma, the condor, the hummingbird, all these animals represent also the four directions, you know. In many other tribes, indigenous tribes, you find the four directions, the four realms. Again, the Kaipacha, Ukupacha, Hanampacha, which is the different deepnesses of our being. You know, and the Chakana is like in all the directions. And it makes a whole, you know. It's like it's different tools that make us us. They're just separated in different rituals and cosmovisions, so that we can understand more or less how these energies move around us. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm going to share, because it's really vast. I can go on for hours, but I think that what all this reminds us basically is going back to our own integrity, our own deep higher self, remembering why we're here, and every step on the way that we walking in this beauty, and walking with this responsibility, with this commitment of not just us, but it talks about all our relationships, that we came here to share the truth of our hearts, because it doesn't serve any purpose as service to humanity if we just hide what we're learning and we don't share it. Because by this sharing, we learn something different from what we thought we knew. So there's always a new self that we find ourselves within the spaces that we give the chance within our relationships. So this leads us to the well-being of us.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I know it can go on, and we can do a whole nother, maybe we will do a whole nother like episode on that, just that like cosmovision. But thank you for the little snippet for everyone that's coming on a retreat. I know they're going to be watching this and learning, and it really connects to parts work. Actually, it connects to all the things we've been talking to, like the four different directions, the animals, the spirits that we all connect to are all different parts of ourselves. So we can all kind of connect to those different directions and worlds and parts of our bodies, even like the chakra system, like we're connecting to all of those parts, and also all the parts that we've created and that come online as protectors and as sources for us to learn, and to treat all the things that we have judgments towards or triggers about, or blind spots about, so that we can come more into wholeness again and again and again and again. And it's never ending because another one will just appear. So, yeah, so thank you for your time, and thank you for the lessons about all the relations. That's like just been coming online so deeply for me over the past couple of years, with the lessons in unity and the lessons in um, how we relate to others on deeper levels, and how we can start to work on our own selves and then relate in a different way, not only to the parts of ourselves, but to the people in our lives. So thank you so much for this conversation, your friendship, the partnership, the co-facilitation, being there for us in Peru as a guide, and all the modalities that you're bringing to the world in your own practice. Yeah, I'm so grateful, like endlessly grateful for what you yeah, what you're doing in the world, and thank you for sharing your parts with us too. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Jessica, because you are magic too. Thank you for coming to my life and for all the work that you do for your community and for all the teachings that you also showed to me as a reflection of many things that I'm also going through my life, to walking with more integrity, being more authentic, being more yourself, and not being scared of facing your own shadows and embracing them and walking with beauty and having a lot of faith that we are all going, well, not all of us, but we are all trying to really be better people and do things in a good way.
Yeah.
And yeah, this world needs a lot of light and a lot of love and a lot of faith and believing in miracles and in the great mystery. It's gonna put us together back again, back to the source of remembering that we know each other already.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we were meant to connect on this path in this lifetime. So thank you for your journey. Thank you for finding me on this earth, on planet Earth. And I will see you in a couple weeks. So
Yes, 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 yes.
see you soon, and thank you for your magic, and until next time. Doo, doo, doo. Oh,
I don't know what that is. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Love you.
Dinosaur. Bye.
Bye.